In Pueblo and tribal communities across the country, Native American women are caretakers, community leaders, language and culture bearers, and sometimes the key source of income for their family. A group of successful Native businesswomen here in New Mexico created Native Women Lead, which faces challenges like pay gaps and high rates of violence by empowering emerging entrepreneurs. The group sold out its first Native Women's Business Summit, and this year's summit is next week at Isleta Pueblo. Correspondent Antonia Gonzalez has more with the two co-founders of Native Women Lead.
What led me to start Poston and Associates was the great experience that I gained working for my own tribe, the Pueblo of Sandia, initially starting as a tribal planner and then becoming the Director of Health, Safety, and Education, and then also working in public relations. I just learned so much. I had so much opportunity and was given so much opportunity to learn almost every subject matter, from sacred site protection to economic development to the environment, water rights protection. So that really was like, how do I take this opportunity and really figure out a way to help other tribes to build capacity and look for ways to do it in a way that makes sense for them and their own tribal communities. And so back in 2004, I decided I'm going to start my own business, and how do I elevate the narrative amongst tribes and tribal entities, not only here in the state, but throughout the country.
What were some of the challenges you faced early on in creating your business?
I think there were a number of challenges, but one of the first ones, I think, is knowing your worth and to really be able to price out what your services are worth. At that point, I didn't think there was very many Native women-owned businesses, and so it was just, I think, going through a little bit of the imposter syndrome, like, should you be here? Should you have a seat at this table? And then just convincing myself and sort of faithing it until I could make it about, yes, I do have the background, I do have the experience to actually sit at the tables around strategic planning, around public relations, around marketing. But it took a while, and I think the more that you fail, that the more there is opportunity to grow. You just got to be able to stand back up and get going again. The challenges that I faced, I wouldn't want my nieces, I wouldn't want my grandkids, my granddaughters to face those sort of challenges. So how do we come together as a collective to establish Native Women Lead in ways that provide safe spaces for women to talk about their challenges, from everywhere from accessing capital, financing, to how do you deal with your taxes, to how do you market yourself, these whole range of things. And a lot of times that imposter syndrome that I spoke to was just not me. And so a lot of times you felt like lonely in the business, I guess, because there wasn't very many. But when we came together with over 200 of us, you're like, okay, there's other people who really think like me and think differently, and that's okay. And so it felt right. I think we were all pleasantly surprised when it was completely at capacity. People were waiting at the door to get in. And so we said, okay, this makes sense. There is a niche to fill, and we're all committed in some way to supporting that. And so here we are in the second annual Native Women's Business Summit. We're looking to host over 300 women, and it's all based on our core values of BWE, backbone, emerging, weaving, and empowering women. So all of that, like the backbone, typically in our families, we are the backbone of our families. A lot of cases, we are the breadwinners in our families. And so how do we come together and talk about that in a safe way? And emerging, there's so many young women out there doing incredible things. I'm just amazed. Like, how do we continue to support them so they can emerge and become the best that they can be? Because as women in our communities, if we're safe and secure, our children are safe and secure, and that helps our overall communities. And we're also weaving. We're weaving everything, our knowledge of community, our knowledge of family, our knowledge of business together to empower are the people that we're trying to serve.
A new one because I just did some updating before I came here. It's been really fun to put together.
Has it?
Yeah. I mean, it's been a headache too, but it's been really fun.
I was really fortunate to be able to find this group of women really at the time of me launching Up Navajo and incorporating Up Navajo as a LLC. It was, I think, serendipitous. I had just moved from Arizona, and then we had jumped into conversations around, well, what does this space look like and mean? And so much of what I had heard about the journey of an entrepreneur as being one that was lonely was true at the time, but it was so great to be able to immediately be connected to a group of powerful Native women who were able to teach me just through their modeling how to integrate my identity more into the business that I was growing at the time. So Up Navajo is a new startup. We have existed as an LLC for about 2 years now, and I have changed careers within that time, but Up Navajo's foundation started altogether 6 years ago.
Tell us how important mentorship is when you were establishing your business.
Some of the challenges that I faced as an entrepreneur were really just the general tools of, well, what are ways to have a successful business? Well, what does that look like? Learning how to, incorporate and think about taxes. I was fortunate to find, through the help of my husband and fellow entrepreneurs that we now work with through Native Women Lead, a program called Native Entrepreneurs in Residence, which is based out of here in New Mexico, run through New Mexico Community Capital. And that was a organization that really allowed me time to incubate my idea, to have mentorship within that program, but also to be connected to this network of women, which was all cosmically aligned, that all of these things happened at really at the same time.
Tell us a couple highlights for the 2019 conference.
We are really delighted to be welcoming two stellar keynote speakers. We have Kim Smith, who is co-founder of the online magazine Indigenous Goddess Gang. She is an activist and really a community leader. She'll be speaking about how having and building a matrilineal economy will be something to get us to a healthier future. And we also have another well-known speaker, Edgar Villanueva, will be talking about his new book called Decolonizing Wealth. So those are two really heavy hitters that we're really excited to welcome. In addition to that, we have an awesome lineup of breakout sessions, everything from Girl, Hey, Start Your Business, which is a group by a Native-owned accounting firm that will be sharing, again, more kind of the nitty-gritty nuts and bolts, the foundation of how to build their business, to other sessions that will be targeted around tools that freelancers should know and understand. And then more generally, we'll have some really powerful plenary discussions of women who are smashing the patriarchy in fields that are really underrepresented in terms of women. So women who are working in the construction field, in the brewery area as well. We also have movement breaks that will be provided by Haley Laughter of Honjo Total Wellness. She'll be doing yoga, and we really want to build a space that is for the mind, body, and spirit of individuals. And along those lines, we'll also be incorporating a healing room into this year's summit as well, so that women have an opportunity to recharge and reconnect to themselves, because sometimes as we're doing this work collectively, we can be re-triggered in the pain of the journeys that we have gone on before, bringing us into that space. And so we want women to be able to have time to be able to, purge that, or if they need to smudge, to be able to have access to quiet room and space and medicine that they need to be able to keep doing that work together with each other.
And what's the biggest advice you give to maybe somebody who's a young Native woman entrepreneur, or even somebody who has a well-established business and they're looking for some advice on growing in the you know, in this industry, whatever industry their business may be in. What kind of advice are you giving?
First of all, never give up. If you really feel that is your passion, I mean, and it just feels right, the work comes. I don't know how to exactly articulate that, but really, if it's your passion and you want to help your community, you want to help other Indigenous communities, figure out what that is, align with it, but also that you're not alone. And don't be afraid to ask for help. A lot of times people want to reinvent the wheel, and it's like, if you see somebody doing something that you think is pretty awesome, go ask them, how did you do that? What do you think I should do? And that people are really honest, and they're really thankful that somebody had the courage to ask them rather than kind of stand in the sidelines. And so I think that's been one of the reasons I've been able to manage and maneuver, is because when I see somebody doing something, I'm just like, how did you do that? Can you share it with me? And more than likely, they're just happy to do so.